Welcome to the Missionaries podcast. Stories from the mission field for everyone, for you to listen, learn, and enjoy. Your host for today is Esther.
Welcome to this new podcast. Today we're going to talk about vacation. Well, Martin is here. This is Esther, the wife of. And normally you'll hear Martin do the intro, but this time I could do it. So that's fun.
Something different, huh?
Yeah, cool, huh? So today we're going to talk about holiday.
Yeah, I thought about this topic when you asked, hey, how about a topic on holidays? I would like to take it a little bit broader, I guess. As in, yes, holiday, but also rest, relaxation.
Yeah, more in a
Free
broader
time.
sense than just the 3 weeks a year that you go on a holiday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And for pastors, missionaries, it sometimes is a tough topic.
Yep, it is.
It's one of the things that we sadly very often see go wrong, I guess, or wrong or not, well, at least not perfect.
Well, the thing is, missionary work as a pastor, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not, I close the door, I go home, and that's it for today. It's work that keeps on going, is irregular, is absolutely not... what's the English word? The Dutch word is voorspelbaar.
Or
Help me.
predictable.
Predictable, thank you.
No, it's not predictable at all.
So you think as a missionary, my day might go like this, and for us it is at least every day something else.
Yeah, so far, actually never ever. Yeah, we do plan things. Yeah, a lot of things do go, but not always, or actually very often not as planned.
Yeah.
But if we look at the whole day, there's always one thing that's not going as planned.
Yeah.
And that's to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up a couple of Bible verses on this topic about holiday, taking rest, and stuff like that. The first one I stumbled upon was Genesis 1, verse 17, where it said that so God created man in his own image, an image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So we are created, God created man in his own image. And then when you look a little bit further in Genesis 2, verse 2 and 3, it says, let me shorten it up a little bit. And on the seventh day, God ended his work. And he rested on the seventh day. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in he rested from all his work which God had created and made.
Mm-hmm.
So God took rest after 6 days. It's not as in, and on the seventh day God said, let's create a special blessed seventh day and do nothing. No, he rested on the seventh day. And since we are created in his own image, it's not abnormal that we also should take rest. And if we don't do so, that's not how God created us.
Yeah. Don't forget, in this time when this is written, there was no sin yet. So like even after the fall, as we say it is, the name of it, that sin came into the world, God cursed the earth and God cursed man. And so right now, living in this cursed world, we get tired from our work.
Yeah, but that's not the case in Genesis 2.
No,
That's before the
that's
in
before
between air
that.
quotes Apple.
Yeah.
So it was not like God was completely done with it, and he crashed on the couch and had a rest.
And he watched Netflix.
Yeah, that would be an exciting episode on Netflix. It was not like that.
And that's why it's even more interesting that God rested, because like God was not exhausted, God was not tired. Like he stood still to be able to look around and enjoy everything that he created and everything he did.
Yeah. So if God did that, not because he was completely done for, but because he liked it, he liked to see what he'd done, he liked to take his rest, he enjoyed it, let alone what we should do now that we do live in a world full of sin. That's a double. It even makes it a better thing to stand still at least once per week for a day.
Well, it says in Genesis 2, verse 3 as well, he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. So it's not just, just God took a rest and that's it. No, it's a special day.
Yeah.
A special day to stand still, to look back, to look forward, to look to God, to stand still and be with God and be together with him.
Well, it goes both ways, I guess. When you look at the verse, it's there is this part that God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, but he also took rest.
Yeah.
So it's taking rest and it's a sanctified day. It's a combination of those two.
Yeah.
And if you look at how the Jews do it today, they some of them are still the Pharisees, I'm afraid. They made a gazillion rules how the Sabbath should look like. You're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to look that. So they forgot the spirit of the rule, why God did it. And they made a lot of human new laws, and they try to live by that law, but that will never work. But there is something in it. Let's be honest, as soon as it's weekend, what are we going to do? We finally have a day off, so let's wash the car since I didn't have time to wash the car during the work week. Okay, but is that taking a day off? Let's mow the lawn since I finally have a day off. Well, is that taking a day off?
Well, depends on if you like gardening or not.
Well, I don't. And the same goes for washing the car.
Yeah.
So if washing the car and or taking care of the lawn is not your hobby, then you're actually making your work week longer and you're not taking rest. And that's one thing that especially missionaries, pastors have to look out for. You're already at work, I bet 5-6 days a week. And now we finally have a day off. So how about I'll send out the newsletters today.
Yeah.
Well, you finally had a day off, and what do? You send out the newsletters. Well, I guess sending out your newsletters is not your hobby, not your definition of rest. It's another sort of work.
Yeah. Well, and that's the idea as well of the day off, is like to disconnect from everything that is work. Like if you keep on working, you'll never be able to switch your mind off.
Yeah.
And focus on other things.
Yeah, I found a verse in Deuteronomy 5:12-14. Let me walk you through it. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy as the Lord commanded you. It's a command. It's not I would love you to do this. No, he commanded you to do so. 6 days you shall labor, do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall not work. Full stop. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, blah, 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 blah.
No one.
No one. And it ends with that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. As soon as you start to, I'll send out the newsletters. I bet you're going to ask your wife, hey, do you think this is it? How does this newsletter look? Is it okay? So you actually put them to work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're dragging them into work.
Yeah.
So I do get it why it says you shall not, in it you shall do no work. Because if you do, you'll drag somebody else along with you. And that's not good.
Well, you know how it goes with work. If you start to do one thing, you are reminded about a second and a third thing that you still need to figure out or to do. And before you know it, it's 5 hours later.
And that's the end of the day, and you're back into bed, completely done for. And you're like, oh man, this should have been my day of rest, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to watch out for that, I guess.
Well, you have to be really careful in taking your rest. It's not only like this 1 day a week or the holiday 3 weeks a year, but it's also about every day, you know, like what I mentioned, you have the normal office job from 9 to 5 or from 8 to whatever.
Working 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Who sang
Dolly
that?
Parton.
There we go. Oh, yeah, classic.
There we go. And you close the door and you could do something else. You have time with your family. You go and visit some friends. You have a nice dinner. You take a walk. Maybe you go to the gym. Like every day should contain some activity to rest. And rest is not just sitting on a couch doing nothing. No, it's also going outside, spending time with God, spending time with friends. How do you relax? How do you, what for you works? You know, is it taking a bath? Is it going for a swim? Is it,
whatever works.
Whatever works, yeah.
I stumbled upon some sort of regular work day for Jesus in, let's see, Mark 6, verse 30 to 32, where it says, Then the apostles gathered to Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest for a while. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. So they departed to a deserted place in the boat by themselves. And this is I guess it's a regular work day for Jesus and the disciple, Jesus and the apostles. So somewhere during that day, he said, come on, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
In current day and age, come on, let's get out of here. Let's go to somewhere where we can eat something together.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time off, have some rest, enjoy life. And that for me was a great example, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not like Jesus working 9 to 5. He didn't do that. He worked way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere, just in a regular work day, come on, let's take some time off. Go to, I don't know where. Let's grab a bite. Let's take some rest.
Spend some time together. I mean, they were busy. They were busy. They were coming back, telling their experiences, talking together, and there was no time because people are walking up and down and asking them this and that, and so things continue. It's so visible how for us even a normal day goes, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. If you look at our normal working, if you look at my work days in my past, when I had a commercial job, it was 9 to 5. And And that was it. You could close the door at 5 and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not anymore. Now it's, if you don't watch out, it's 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to take care that you take your time off. And there's nothing wrong to say, hey, it's 2 p.m. Let's get out of here. We've got our next client, our next appointment at 7
Mm-hmm.
p.m. or at 8 p.m. or at 9 p.m. But let's get out of here and let's get some rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we very often forget that. I think we very often think that we still have to work all day long instead of be flexible, as in the same be flexible with the people who show up at your doorstep.
Yeah.
They show up 24/7, so why shouldn't you get out of here somewhere in those 20? Be flexible, be more flexible, I guess, and don't feel, how could you say that? Don't feel obliged. If you go out for dinner, go out for dinner. Go to the park.
Yeah, don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty. Take a bottle of water with you. Go to the park. Enjoy the birds. The next client will show up after 3. So why don't you get out of here and do so?
Mm-hmm.
And this example, what we just read in Mark 6, is a great example of a normal, regular work day with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we?
Yeah.
So I mean it's so yeah, going out for dinner, go to the park, go to the gym, what sort of hobbies do you have? Do you still have hobbies, or a lot of what I see around me, that a lot of missionaries, pastors sometimes even stopped with their hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's good. You should have somewhere to take your mind off, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's the one very important thing of resting, taking your mind off work and focusing your mind on God as well. That's another very important ingredient of time off, I think.
It definitely is. And it's one thing that we tend to forget, I guess. In Dutch, there's a thing called the Messiah syndrome, that you think that you're the Messiah and you'll have to fix everything. Well, there's bad news for you. You're not the Messiah. You cannot change everything. It's up to God.
Mm-hmm.
And don't fall into that trap, I guess.
Yeah.
Another thing I found was in, this is a difficult word for me in English, Ecclesiastes. I always have problems to pronounce that a little bit.
But it's such a great book.
It's a great book.
I love it.
Let me get it out. Chapter 9, verse 9 and 10. Live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all your days of vanity. For that is your portion in life, and in labor which you perform under the sun. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. So the portion in your life that God wants you to give is live joyfully.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do get it why he says all days of your vanity, all the days of your vain life. Let's be honest, this life is a temporarily thingy, and compared to eternity is nothing. And God literally says here, live joyfully. It doesn't say, well, if you've got time and you feel like it, live joyfully. No, he commands you to do so.
Yeah, it also doesn't say work and sweat until you die.
Well, it's work and sweat until you die. Yes, no. The Genesis 3, I guess, that was the apple story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
But that doesn't mean that it's not without joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have, if you do it with God, and that's an important thing. If you do not do it with God, then I do get why life is no joy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do work with God, yeah, sometimes you will sweat your ass off. But if you know that it's a temporarily problem, in between air quotes, so to say, and that it's just for now. So why don't you enjoy together with God what God gave you? You'll have to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for missionaries and pastors, for the responsibility or the feeling of responsibility is so high that it's very easy to forget to enjoy also the little things that happen and focus on these things and do something for you. I mean, we often talk about it like in your agenda, like if you plan your week or try to plan it, like plan things together as a couple, plan things like, oh, I'm going to the museum, put it somewhere in.
Yeah, well, let's be honest, if you look at a regular calendar, we put stuff in there that's all business and work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy to forget that living joyfully and taking rest is a thing that God commands us to do. And if you do, I actually plan it in my calendar. Go out with my wife to a museum, go out for dinner. There are meetings that say don't plan anything. That's actually a meeting. So if people show up to me and say, hey, do you have time tomorrow between 3 and 5? I'll tell them, no, I can't do that. I already have an appointment. But let's have a look if we can schedule it for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do that, every spot in my calendar will be filled with something.
Yeah.
Except taking rest and except live joyfully.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps to even plan, live joyfully and have rest. And yes, if you already did that day, perfect. Toss it out of the calendar, do something else. Mm-hmm. It's fine. But if you didn't do that, that's a reminder for you. Hey, do watch out, brother, sister. Don't forget. Do it. This is your time off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe it helps pastors, missionaries just a little bit to think about it like that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will help. And what you talked about, like the Messiah complex, there will be all times something to do. There's never anything done. No. Like there's always something. There's news to be written, there is finances, there is administration, there is a person to call, there is always something. So you never, if you want to, you can never be off because there's always something to do.
Well, that's the other thing. We see a lot of missionaries and pastors who don't take time off, as in not going out for dinner, but even further, if they go on holiday, it's a week. And missionaries are going on holiday back to their home country. Esther's laughing. Why?
Yeah. Well, holiday to your own country, they don't go together.
No, it doesn't.
Because like when you go to your home country, it's from meeting to meeting. And of course, it's so much fun to see everyone again, to meet your family, your friends, your sponsors, your church. But be honest, is it really time off? Well, I don't experience it like that.
Well, I do enjoy.
It's fun,
Yeah, that's the thing.
but
I
it's
mean,
busy.
I do enjoy the work that God gave me.
Mm-hmm.
I really love it. But that's work. And that's not taking time off.
Mm-hmm.
What I experience every time we go back to our home country and come back to the missionary field. Normally, I'm exhausted when I get back into the mission field.
Yeah, and then they ask you, how was your holiday in the
Yeah.
Netherlands?
Yeah, and I'm like, no,
Wow.
it wasn't a holiday.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we loved it. Yes, we love to see friends, family. But as soon as we go back home, we only see people once a year, maybe twice a year, if
Yeah.
we're lucky. Some people we only see once per 2-3 years. So we go from meeting to meeting to meeting in order to meet as many people as we can see.
Yeah.
And we love it. But a lot of it is work.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. And
Yeah, normally, like when you're living in your own country, you also have these visits, but you plan them over a period of time. And we just like hop them all together in those 2 weeks that we are there. Because that's the time you have. And the next option will be, I don't know.
well, if we're home, we park our van, and our van can sit in our driveway for 2 weeks without moving 1 inch. It just sits there.
In the Netherlands, it drives every day.
Every single day, 2-3 meetings a day, family in the morning, friends in the afternoon, later during the day, a business meeting, and it's
Mhm.
driving a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And driving a car, although I like it, it's work. I don't do that for fun. If I would like to drive my car for fun, I would take it out to the racetrack and trash the thing. But driving on the highway, especially in the Netherlands, is not. It's not
No.
fun at all. It is work. So that's one thing to watch out for. If you go back to your home country, do not count that as holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a lot of fun. Yes, you do enjoy it. But if that's your definition of taking time off, I would like to shake you a little bit and reconsider that. It's just not. Taking time off is taking time off. Nothing.
Yeah. It means freedom to do whatever you want to do. Wake up whenever you like. Eating whatever you like.
Yeah, and the other
Going
thing
out or not.
for me is if you want to switch my head off,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a week to switch it off. So if I only go on holiday for a week,
You never switch off.
I don't switch off. I'm on. Only after 1 week, I'm slowly switching off. But be warned, if I take a holiday for 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
in week number 3, I'm ready to gear up.
Yeah.
Since I know that the holiday is almost over, so let's start this, let's start that, let's send out already a newsletter, let's make appointments for as soon as we're back.
Mm-hmm.
So the only week I'm really off, is week number 2. It's not week number 1, it's not week number 3, it's week number 2.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to consider. Your way of thinking might be different, but do think about how much time do I need to switch off? And that's not in day 1.
Mm-hmm.
It takes longer. Another thing to consider, I guess, I sometimes look at it from a business perspective. If you look at the Dutch law says to an employer that he has to, by law, let his employees enjoy the time off. That's in the law. Even if the employee says, "No, I'm fine. I don't need time off. I'll just keep working," that's not allowed. They have to take time off. So if you're a good employer, you should and must do so.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, you're not a good employer. And the reason for that law, the spirit of that law is, We want to make sure that your employees keep healthy. And in that way, stay longer with your company and be more productive in the long run. And in the mission field, it should be the same.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not automatically like that.
No. We're running a retreat for missionaries, and we do hear the stories. We see how they are dealing with it and how their home team deals with it. And we hear and see stories, hey, if you're going on holiday, that's great, but we will stop your support, and we will start your support as soon as you're back on the mission field. Well, in the Netherlands, by law, everybody gets paid by their employer, and they also get 8%. Well, the employer actually parks 8% of their income into a vacation fund. So as soon as you go on vacation, or it's the holiday season, he will pay you that 8% out of that specific budget. So you do have money while you're on holiday.
Yeah.
Your employer has to give you, Dutch law, at least 22 days a year. And he has to pay you during those 22 days, at least. So if you don't do that, then you're not a good employer. And sadly, we see that, that doesn't always work in the mission field.
Well, often, I think.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's not good. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 3:16-17, do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. So for you as a pastor, for you as a missionary, you are the temple of God. And you do not, I repeat, you do not want to defile the temple of God. You want to take care of your body, take your time off.
Take care of your spirit life.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't do that, God says God will destroy him. Well, that's not the most happy verse. And the same goes for the people that are in your home team, your sponsors, your prayer team. You, as some sort of employers of your missionaries, as employers of your pastors, you do not want to defile the temple of God. You want to take care of them. And that goes further than what they do.
Yeah, how often are people focused on the work we do, right? The results that we have, that's what they want to hear. That's what their interest is in. How often, if you are involved with a missionary, do you ask the missionary, and what about your rest? How often do you take rest? How does it work for you?
Yeah, I would like it. I would love it if it would even go further. If you're in somebody's home, prayer, whatsoever team, yes, do ask them, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how about taking your rest as God commands you to do? How about living your life joyfully? What do you do to do that? And if you ask that question, maybe think a little bit further. What can I do as somebody in a home team, as in a prayer team, as in a sponsor? What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
What I sometimes do is, hey, fellow missionary, fellow whatsoever, how are you doing? You know what? What's your private bank account? Not the bank account from your missionary agency, but your private bank account. And let me send you some money and go out for an ice cream. I'll pay your ice cream for today. Or how about you'll take a week off and send me the bill?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll send you some money so that you can take a week off. So please do take a week off. Expenses are paid. And help them a little bit further. So I'm not only looking at what they do, but I'm also trying to look at who they are as a missionary.
And how they are doing.
And how they are
Yeah.
really doing. And not just in word, but also in what I do for them.
It's a beautiful thing, what you said.
I wish more people would do it like that. We were blessed this year that one of the people in our prayer team asked us, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they offered us a place to stay for 2 weeks in the middle of nowhere. And that was very practical. So not only did they ask, but they also do.
Yeah.
And
Oh, what a blessing it was.
oh man, I still miss it. I wish we could go back for just a couple of weeks. But well, maybe we should. So I would like to encourage the people who are helping missionaries and pastors, maybe look a little bit further and see what you can do for your missionary, for your pastor. Not for what they do, but for who they are. Take care of them as a good employer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot. On the other hand, if you're a missionary and if you're a pastor, feel free to ask for it, I guess, if needed. Do not feel ashamed to go on holiday.
No, not at all. Every person needs it.
Yeah, and if you've got a tough job, you need some serious rest.
Yeah.
And go for that, but do be aware that sadly you sometimes feel the spiritual warfare, as in, oh, you're going on a holiday. Oh yeah, I wish I would go. I could go to the Bahamas. Be prepared that people say that. Don't blame them for that, since they probably don't have any idea or not the whole picture about what you're doing. I mean, in all honesty, we don't have a pension fund. We don't have holiday money. In the Netherlands, we actually have a 13th month in the year. So at the end of the year, you get twice your salary. Well, we don't have that. We don't have that. Let alone the sort of work that we do. It's quite demanding. And if you don't take your time off, you're done. And don't defile, as it says in 1 Corinthians 3:16, 17.
Yeah.
Don't defile your own temple of God and or the missionaries who do work for God's glory.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
Yeah, take your holiday.
Spiritually, physically.
Yeah.
And don't be ashamed to do it.
No, you've got to. God commands you to do so.
Yeah. You have a responsibility in that area.
Oh, a big one.
Yeah.
Well, I sometimes say there's nothing wrong with burning up for God, as in a holy sacrifice for Him. But there is everything wrong with burning down. Burning down doesn't give any energy. It's wasted. So it's good to sacrifice yourself for God, but it should be in a holy way.
Mm-hmm.
Do it as efficient and as joyfully as possible. And beware of that balance between burning up and burning down. Do not burn down. God doesn't want you to do so.
Completely agree.
And that's about it for today. Hope we Well, I hope we made it a little bit more clear how we think about it, or more important, what the Bible says about it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to listen to us, but please do listen to what God told you today. I want to say thanks for listening. Please do like, subscribe, follow, or whatever, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Missionaries podcast. For more information about this podcast and how you can help us, visit www.me.pl. God bless, and keep up the great work for His glory.